Hey guys, it is me again. So in this video, I am going to talk about starting over and the truth about starting over. And a lot of the times people will give you the fluff piece about how starting over is amazing and it's this wonderful thing and you're entering a new chapter and you're becoming a different person, but they don't really touch on the hard points of starting over and what you go through mentally um when it comes to starting over. So, in this video, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to try to make this as short as possible and kind of break it down for you in regards to my own process, what I go through and maybe what others have gone through with starting over. All right. So, of course, with starting over, you realize outgrown your old life, but your new life hasn't fully arrived. Meaning that you're in a place where you know that something has to change, but you're not, you haven't started that process as of yet. So that process hasn't started for you as of yet. And I was once there. I knew that something had to change, but you really don't know where to start or where to begin. So you haven't fully started that new life. It's basically you're in the in between of knowing that something has to change and you're tired of living this way and what you're going to actually do next to start this new life. Um in this process you also may question your decisions. A lot of the things I do now, I question. And so when I question things, my go to is always to pray about it, no matter what it is. I pray a million times a day. I am in constant prayer throughout the day because I have to make decisions not only that may affect me, but also affect my child. So it comes with sometimes with a heavy burden to make a decision, especially when it may affect me financially or it may affect how I'm able to take care of my child in the future. You also may miss things that you know you need to leave behind. Um, yes, probably moving, distancing yourself from people, not doing certain things that you once used to do. Probably for some people, it's going out all the time or being around a lot of people and learning to maybe be by yourself or seclude yourself from other people. Sometimes starting over can be can get lonely, to be honest with you. Um, I've gone through that phase where my phone doesn't ring and I don't call anybody and I don't really talk to people because I'm in the process of starting over and figuring out my life. So that may look like not talking to the same people that you usually would on a regular basis or not being as social. So that is definitely one of the things that comes with starting over. So how do you know when it's time to start over? So sometimes starting over is your choice, meaning that you feel it in your spirit, your soul, like you're just tired and you don't want to do nothing. Something has to break, something has to change. But sometimes life forces you to. So things that may happen where life forces you to is relationships may end, friendships may change, and careers no longer fit. I also went to through a point where my career changed and what I was going to school for, what I thought I wanted to do from a child up to basically I was in my 20s an adult. One day I decided I no longer wanted to do it. It just didn't fit where I was in my life anymore and I didn't have that interest anymore. So I had to make a change. And I've changed my major at least 3 times um since then. And there's nothing wrong with it. Um Sometimes experiences, life just in general They teach you things about yourself, and you're not the same person that you once were when you were in your 20s. Being when I was in my 20s, and now that I've entered my 30s, I'm not the same person. I've outgrown a lot of things. So we're all evolving. Things change. And also dreams don't happen the way you expected. Sometimes you realize I just don't want this to live like this anymore. And that's honestly perfectly fine. Eventually staying the same becomes more uncomfortable than changing. So when you get uncomfortable with who you are as a person and you're trying to hold on to something that no longer fits, it becomes harder and more uncomfortable because you're forcing something that doesn't come naturally to you anymore. Once you've outgrown something, it is going to feel weird or awkward to keep on doing this. You're going to probably be in your head a lot. And I've been there where I know that I something didn't fit or something didn't align anymore, and I continued to do it because it was just what I was used to until I realized, okay, you're obviously not in this place anymore. This person doing this certain thing on a regular basis doesn't align anymore. It doesn't serve you anymore. So it comes a point where you just have to say, okay, it's time to let go. It's time to move on, and we're going to try something new. And there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with that. Of course, yes, it is very, 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 very uncomfortable. But with change, with anything, it just takes time to adapt and change, and eventually it will work itself out. Um, you don't need everything figured out to know something needs to change. You don't. Nothing has to be perfectly aligned, nothing has to be set in stone when it comes to changing. Part of changing is basically just being open, being a sponge. Don't think that anything has to be exactly how it is. Like you have to have it all figured out right now. When it comes to changing and evolving and learning, just keep an open mind. Don't set any true expectations, because what you may want now in this moment, you may realize after attempting to do something or trying something new that it doesn't work for you. So don't get attached to anything. Don't become just engulfed in anything. Just take it day by day, one step at a time. If something works one day and it goes fine, then you can continue that same routine or that same thing for the next few days and see how it works for you and your family or you and your loved one. If it doesn't work, okay, try something new. But don't become disappointed after trying something and then realizing it doesn't fit, or wanting to do something and realizing it doesn't fit, and then you just say, yeah, this is not working, or maybe I'm not meant to step into this new phase of my life. Maybe it's not the right time. Trust me, everything that you can think of when it comes to change and making things happen for yourself in your life, or your dreams changing and putting yourself on a different path, everything that you can think of possibly happening is probably going to happen. When when you finally decide to make that change, trust me, it's gonna seem like hell and high water for you to make that change, because there are going to be roadblocks. That's just it is. It's going to test your patience. It's going to test if you really want this, and you have to know you really want this and actually stick to it, because there are going to be roadblocks. I am going through it. I've experienced it. Some days are harder than some, but by the grace of God, like I said, I'm always praying. I get through it, and I'm just like, I just have to trust this process. All right. So, next on my list is the grief nobody talks about. You can know something is over and still grieve it. Absolutely 100% true. We grieve people, we grieve relationships. It is completely normal. There has been relationships that I once had that I no longer have. And sometimes I miss certain aspects of an individual, or doing certain things with an individual or hanging out with an individual, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's what you're it's what you're accustomed to. At one point it is something that brought you joy or made you happy, and there is nothing wrong with that. Yes, we all grieve the old things. Sometimes when I sit back and I look at my life now and I think back of the things that, like the going out and the partying and the things that I used to do in my 20s with my friends, sometimes I miss that. But I realized as I got older, me and those people, we don't align anymore. The same things I want out of life don't align with where they are. And sometimes you have to remove yourself from certain situations in order to really grow, evolve, and prosper. It just, it's normal. Nothing wrong with it. Missing someone doesn't automatically mean they belong back in your life. Great point. They don't. Missing someone doesn't make it okay for them to, yeah, let's spin the block. No. You can miss them. They once made you happy, they once brought you joy. But remember, when it comes to change and growing, you outgrow people. If that person is not supportive of where you are in your life or where you're wanting to go, you don't need them around. If that person is a distraction to the goals that you are wanting to pursue or you're taking on, you don't need them around. If you are starting something new and they're not supportive, and every time they open their mouth in regards to you doing something, it's kind of negative or it's not encouragement, it just seems like they're holding you back, let them go. You can miss them. It's okay to miss them, but they're not doing what is in the best interest of you and your success and what you're needing to do with your life in order to make your life better. It's just not. So, yes, it is okay to miss someone. It is okay to grieve them. But if you know that where you are in your life right now, what you're wanting to do doesn't align with them, and they do not push you, they are not someone that encourages you to do better and challenges you to do better, then no, let them go. Grieving is totally fine. Grieve them, but move on with your life. All right. Something can have been meaningful and still not belong in the next chapter. That's with any relationship, friends, family. Yes, it was meaningful. They taught you something. You guys had been friends for 15 years or since childhood. If it doesn't if it doesn't align anymore, let it go. It's not going to get any better because you're evolving and they're not. You're not the same person you were at 15 or when you were at 20. We're different. We're evolving. It's okay to evolve. Don't ever feel because you're evolving and they're not, or you guys are in two different places in your life, that there's something wrong or for you to feel guilty about. No, if you want more out of life or you want something different, it is okay to say, I want something different. And right now in this chapter of my life, our relationship doesn't work like it once did. Move on. Starting over isn't always pretty. Starting over comes with new routines, new boundaries, new mindset, new goals. It's basically you have to reinvent yourself. It isn't always pretty. It is a pretty ugly period, I would say. The last, what, 6, 7 months of this year has been nothing but reinventing myself, starting over, figuring out, trying, being frustrated. It is very ugly. Very, 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 very ugly. Some of the things that I had to stop doing was I stopped explaining myself. I stopped chasing closure. I stopped forcing relationships. I stopped shrinking myself. That's one of the biggest lessons I learned this year is that I tend to shrink myself. and I needed to stop doing that. And I also stop returning to familiar situations just because they're comfortable. So, ex boyfriends or people that I used to surround myself with, I stopped giving them the benefit of the doubt. If you didn't change the past 10 times that I forgave, or we fell out and we tried it again, you're not going to change on the 20th time. It just doesn't work like that. Sometimes you have to be the one to cut the umbilical cord. Even though it's hard, you have to cut the umbilical cord. And you have to accept where you are going and that it's not going to be easy. Who you're becoming in this season requires you to do a whole lot. And it's not going to be pretty. And it is very ugly. And it is very hard. And I've had to have a lot of conversations with friends, family, therapists about all of these things. Nothing is easy about it. But you will see the light at the end of the tunnel. And yes, things have been very difficult for me in the past year, but I'm starting to see light at the end of the at the end of the tunnel. At first, I was all right. I was constantly crying, constantly just high anxiety, feeling hurt, or just feeling like, what am I going to do next? How is this going to affect me and my child if I do this or I do this? It was just constant going back and forth in my head. And then I realized that I just have to trust the process. That whatever I'm doing, it's going to work out. And the new chapter I'm entering in, even though it is very difficult for me in having a child and transitioning, that I am doing what is in the best interest of me and what's gonna help me in the long run and what's gonna help me to show up for my kid because I'm becoming a better version of me rather than sticking to the old me, which reverted back to old habits and reverted back to trying to make relationships work that just you can't force them. So, change is difficult. It is very difficult. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but it is absolutely necessary. Relationships have to end in order for you to evolve. Routines have to change in order for you to evolve. There are going to be a lot of sacrifices that you have to make in order to evolve. But with those changes, with those new routines, with those sacrifices that you're making, you're going to see light at the end of the tunnel. Not every day is going to be perfect. There are going to be some days that are better than some, but stick it out. It's all going to work itself out. It always does. I'm going to say, I will say it till the end of time until my last breath. That the God I serve is in the business of miracles, signs, and wonders. He is not a God that is a division, but He will multiply and bless everything that you ask Him to. So trust the process, continue to pray, keep your faith, and take it one day at a time. Because that's what I've been doing and it's working for me. Some days are better than some. Some days I want to crawl up into a ball, into a dark room, and disappear to the world because I feel like I am failing at every aspect in my life. From some days I feel like, why did I make this career change? Or do I continue to go to school and put myself through this, not sleeping, being up all night, getting off of work late? And then I remember that I have a human being upstairs that looks up to me and that depends on me and that is counting on me to do the hard things so that he will have better opportunities. So if he is depending on me to do better so that he can have a better opportunity and live a better life, then I am okay with making those sacrifices, even though sometimes I feel like I am falling apart. But I'm trusting the process, and I advise all of you to do the same. Until the next video, I will see you guys later. Bye.